Good music either fills you with dread or it fills you with joy. But like the funeral business, the wedding business is booming right now and tastes are changing quickly. So how are companies keeping up? I'm Jonathan Healy. Join me now as RedBusiness walks up the aisle.
The Red Business Podcast with CompuB, Apple technology and solutions for your business. CompuB.com/business.
So in a little while we're going to talk about the process of the wedding and the mechanics of the day, but before you do anything, you have to come to a room like the one I'm sitting in right now, which is on Patrick Street in Michelle Jewelers with Tim Keane. Now Tim, I've very bad news. You're not going to sell me a ring today, which is the purpose of this room, isn't it?
It is. This room and the other rooms we have are for private viewing for people when they're getting married or getting engaged. We find there's a big change today in that long ago people would buy a set of wedding rings which would probably match. You'd have a plain yellow set or a plain white set or whatever. Today everything goes. From diamond set wedding rings for the ladies to extremely fancy rings for the gents. The fashion has changed completely.
We'll take a step back from the wedding ring to the engagement ring first of all. Now, I was an old die-hard romantic, right? I didn't tell anybody what I was doing and I bought the engagement ring. Are there still old romantics like me around, or does everybody now have to consult in triplicate and fill out the form before they come in to buy the engagement ring?
No, I'm delighted to say the romance is not dead. About 20 minutes ago, before you sat in that seat, I had a fella there who was going out with this girl for 7 years, and he decided to surprise her off the blue, and he came in, he bought a ring, and he's gone off home now to surprise her, and he's going down to, I think it's Inchydonny Beach in the next few days, and he's going to write, "Will you marry me on the beach?" So there is romance still left.
There's a little bit of residual romance,
Yeah.
yes. But are there fewer of those types now? Is it more of a joint effort? At the age of equality, the lady has much as a say as the man has?
I would say probably not. Funny enough, I would say a lot of fellas now are trying to make their own impression on it. They're trying to make it something special for her by he picking it. Now, he'll have done a lot of research.
Don't buy blind.
Yeah. Oh, he won't be blind. He might have her mother involved in it, or her sister involved in it, or, her best friend. He'll have done a lot of research as to what she'd like. He'll probably have borrowed a ring to get her size, and he'll have a good idea of what she likes. And he'll know his budget.
And budget is important, of course, because you can go for something that's nice and straightforward, or you can go mad altogether and really make an impression. What's the most popular type of ring? I mean, is it still the solitaire, which would have been traditionally the type of engagement ring people would have opted for?
No, today now the fashion has changed in that way. The most popular type today is a thing called a halo. What it basically is like a single stone, and then there's a circle of diamonds around it and diamonds on the shoulder. So they call it a halo of diamonds around the centre stone.
That is genius, whoever thought up with that, because why sell them one diamond when you can sell them 15? That works out much better for the jeweler.
Well, it's like the three stone. I remember when De Beers brought out an advertising campaign that the three stone was the ultimate symbol of love, because it was three stones and the stones meant I love you. And then they came out with the eternity ring, which had 5 stones, and it was I will love you always.
So what does 15 say?
15 says, I love you, love you, love you.
And it really dictates the message. The cost of gold, it fluctuates widely. I mean, it's been up and down for the last couple of years for reasons far outside the control of the fella buying the ring, or indeed the jeweler who's selling it. Is it more expensive now to buy an engagement ring than it would have been, say, 10, 15 years ago?
Oh, it is, yeah. I mean, you have a difference in VAT, you have a difference in the cost of metal, you have a difference in the cost of wages to people who are manufacturing. So there would be a lot of differences. Yes, it would be more expensive today. The price of gold fluctuates due to investment reasons more so than the jewellery business. The price of diamonds is fairly static. It goes up, it goes down. What's more probably an influence is the price of the dollar and the euro. At the moment now, it's particularly good value because the euro is quite strong against sterling. So that what we were buying, say, for 1,600 a couple of months ago, or say a year ago, were buying for $12.50.
Okay, so
You
there
know?
is actually it's working out quite. Not love is blind, of course, to currency fluctuations, but it doesn't not help. Let me put it that way. Is there a kind of a guide price? So someone who sits down in this chair for the first time and they go, I want to buy an engagement ring. Do you give them a guide price? What, like, where do they start? Is it still 3 times your monthly salary?
They used to traditionally say 3 times your monthly salary, but today that really doesn't apply. It varies completely. I mean, we'd sell diamond rings for 700-800 euros. We'd sell diamond rings for 7,000 or 8,000. You know, engagement rings, and we'd sell in between. A popular price point would probably be between 2 and 3.5, and then another thousand. Another popular, sorry, the very first one would be probably 800 to 2 grand, then 2 to 3.5, and then probably 5 to 7, and then after that,
After
anything.
that, Tim has a big smile on his face if they're looking to see that tray. Talk about the wedding bands. I mean, I have possibly the most simple wedding band of all, a simple plain gold ring, which was, you know, the symbol. You're given all your worldly possessions you didn't want to show about, but that's changed now, you're saying.
Well, first of all, the big change today is that you have civil weddings or you have church weddings. In a civil wedding, you don't have any of the i.e. worldly goods thing.
Yes, to having to hold all
Yeah,
that.
no, you don't. In the church wedding, you do. The wedding rings themselves, sometimes today, the gents' wedding ring could be 1,500 quid, 1,500 euros, sorry. The ladies' wedding ring might be 2,000. There's a big swing to ladies' diamond set wedding rings, which vary in price from about 700 up to, oh, God, we have one, I think that was about 8,000. As opposed to before, the normal wedding ring was 250, 300,
Yeah, I mean, they're
400.
cheap because it's just a simple gold band, really, isn't
Yeah.
it? So gold. If gold is reasonable, the ring will be reasonable. Why did people change their attitudes? I mean, is it just the constant progression and change in taste?
It really is just change in taste, fashion as well, and the fact that they've a little bit more spending money, and they want something a bit more glamorous, if it's the right way to say.
As if the day wouldn't be glamorous enough. Have you ever, and this is, we're going to the questions I always wanted to ask a jeweler, have you ever had returns on engagement rings, and is there a policy on same?
Practically never, once or twice. It depends. It's a very grey area. We don't deal in second-hand stuff, and if the thing has been worn, we just don't do anything on it, unfortunately. If it's not been worn, we'd have probably spoke to the customer beforehand. Say a guy was giving it his own and he was getting a bit nervous, and we probably said, right, if you have it back within a certain amount of time, we'll refund you.
A standard enough return policy.
From that point of view. I suppose it's not something you want to raise to a person when they're starting off, you know. They're in a very, like I keep saying to the girls, we're lucky in that we're in a really enviable position in our business, that we're dealing with people on happy times, especially emotionally happy times. You know, this is their first big purchase together. Well, maybe they might have bought a house or whatever before, but as a couple...
As a couple, it's the first signal that, you know, this is the real thing. I mean, how many years have you been doing this? You've been a jeweler for how long?
Well, I started in the business when I was 7, lifting boxes in a flood. So I suppose...
You couldn't have lifted them very high at the age of
No, I
7.
wasn't. But I can tell you, when the water's coming in, you discover fast how to lift. I suppose technically 50. I mean, I've been working Saturdays since I'm about 10.
Yeah.
I'm 60 in a couple of weeks' time, so I technically say 50 years.
You've seen a lot then of couples coming in over the years and the styles changing and all of that, Tim. You presumably get to people watch a lot. Couples, I mean, they always you've seen many coming through. Do you get to realise, well, these guys are definitely in it for the long haul, or maybe they're not ready and down that road yet?
I wouldn't agree there. I mean, yes, you would people watching, yes. Having been as long as I am in the business, you'd know a couple and they walk in the door. They have that shy, hesitant look. I never understood how a person could feel awkward in a place. Having lived all my life in the business, until one time I was away in Spain with a friend of mine, and he took me into a lingerie shop. He wanted to buy some underwear for his girlfriend.
A different trade to your own now.
A different trade to my own. And I suddenly realised how you could feel awkward in a shop, because all I wanted to do was get out. And I know I've had cases where fellas have said to me, oh, I feel very uncomfortable in here now, this is my kind of place. But in reality, it's a shop, I mean, we are very lucky, as I said, to share that moment. And we are lucky in that my mother might have sold someone's mother their engagement ring, or their grandmother. I might have sold their mother her engagement ring, and now I'm selling the granddaughter. I'm hoping one of my kids will follow me into the business, and then the continuation will occur, and that's one of the nice things of our business.
Do you ever walk out maybe on a Saturday afternoon or whenever you close up on a Saturday, having sold a number of engagement rings, with a bit more pep in your step than maybe the fella closing Eason's on the other side here or the travel agents nearby? You've made people happier than other retailers in town might have done that day.
Oh, well, you'll always enjoy that moment. I mean, yes, it's a business. We're out to make sales, but you have the benefit of that moment. I mean, people used to say to me, oh, you're a terrible snob. And I'd say, why? We passed you in the street and you never saluted us. I said, no, I didn't, because it's up to you if you want to say to people where you bought the engagement ring. It's not my business to be saying, look, they bought it from me, and people, it's a private time, but it's a public time, if you understand me. It's public because they are announcing it to their friends, but it's private because it's between us and them.
But you're the box that sits up in the press, says Michelle.
Hopefully.
That's the one. Tim Keane of Michelle Jewelers, an absolute pleasure. Thank you very much for taking the time.
Pleasure. Thank you again for everything.
The Red Business Podcast with CompuB, providing innovative Apple solutions for your business. Visit compub.com/business.
So that's what happens when you build up the courage and you get the ring and you make the proposal. But then the real work starts of how you actually go about organising a wedding. And by God, anyone who has put themselves through it knows that there's an awful lot of organising that goes into a wedding. The good thing is there are experts, there are professionals, three of whom are sitting opposite me right now in studio here in Red FM. We have Christine O'Sullivan from Creations. Hello, Christine.
Hello.
We have Sean Clark, who is a photographer. Hello, Sean.
Hello.
And we have Sandra Looney, who is a wedding planner.
Hi.
Very meek, Sandra. Come on, say hello louder.
Hi.
There
Hello,
you have
everyone.
it, yes. Much more confident than that. Sandra, at what point do wedding planners get involved in the process?
Well, there are a range of options, I guess, that I've come across. Most people do it about 18 months to 12 months before their big day. They like to have a lot of time. They like to put a lot of thought into it. So normally I see people 12 to 18 months before they get married.
So at what point in the relationship are they? So they've gotten together, they have gotten engaged.
Yep, said all
This
the
is-
lovey-dovey stuff.
This is where the fault lines really start to appear, isn't it? That
is.
I want 12 doves. Well, you're not getting any doves, you're having a pigeon. That kind of thing starts coming out.
It does. The reality, once the bling is on the finger, then the reality of how things are going to pan out, really, that starts to take hold. I've had people come in the very next day following an engagement and the spreadsheet comes out. So she's really been thinking about it way before she got the ring. So it can be a variety of times from the day after to probably they've been engaged for a year. We've had some people who've been engaged for 6 years. So it's really down to the individual couple.
Wedding planners usedn't exist. They're like Facebook. They were never around before and now they're a big thing. Is it kind of competitive? Is there a lot doing what you're doing right now?
Not an awful lot in the Munster area. You would find it a lot in the bigger cities, Dublin, London, New York and stuff. What we found, we've seen the growth in the need for our services because typically it was mammy or mammy-in-law did all of this stuff for the couple. Now a lot of couples are living away.
I was just going to say mammy-in-law doesn't bother with that
Mammy-in-law
kind of
doesn't
thing
really
anymore.
want to
No.
get involved.
Down with that sort of thing, says
so
mammy-in-law.
a lot of the couples are now living away and they want to get married in Cork, hence the need to employ somebody like me. They don't want to go to mammy or mammy-in-law. They have way too much to do. They know what they want, so they'll come to a wedding planner and I work with them then.
And how much do they know about what they want? I mean, you mentioned the spreadsheet, so that person must be the nightmare you have to deal with. They want everything in the right order, and God forbid, should a place setting be out of the way. Do most people just want things to run smoothly and the guests to have a good time?
They sure do. At the end of the day, 90% of the couples, that's what they want. It's about their family, it's about their friends, it's about really having a lovely day. However, you know, you do get brides who have been thinking about this since they were little girls. This is so important to them. And I know Christine will talk about it when it comes to hair and makeup. Like, they've been dreaming about this for years. And then you get some couples and they're so laid back. They really just want it to be all about a party.
Do you find some of them deteriorate into toddlers and you have little hissy fits? Well, how do you deal with the hissy fit?
You really just let it play out because, you know, I've played referee a few times and it's not really a nice place to be. So you let them get over it.
Is
and you let them wear
there
themselves
marital
out.
timeouts you can send them into?
There are. I would often send them to separate places in the room. So we have a showroom, so I'd say, no, you go over there and look at the cufflinks or whatever it is. And they kind of get themselves together and come back. But most of them, it's just really about wanting it to be perfect.
I love the idea of splitting couples up for that exact
just for
reason.
that
Well,
reason.
Christine, let's bring you in at this point because your company is Creation. So you do hair and makeup.
I do, yeah.
When did
Salon
they-
is Creation.
When
yeah.
do they come to you then?
So at the moment, you'd be laughing, but inquiries are on 2019 at the moment. So that'll tell you. I actually inquired the other day about getting a diary for myself, 2019, because
They
somebody
mightn't
asked
even
me.
have printed them yet.
They're not. I had to actually ask, could I get one printed for myself? Anyway, but yeah, I do find it's kind of gone back to where it was years ago when couples are starting to book hotels 2 and 3 years in advance. And now I do see it's the same for me for hair and makeup.
Now, that's the first foray, shall we say. At what point does it start getting serious then that people decide, well, I want this haircut. I want the Rachel. Let's go back to the 90s. I want the Rachel.
Yeah, for haircut. Well, I suppose for wedding hair, I have trials done previous now. I noticed as well, some brides at the moment, even before they book, they're looking for trials. And that's without dresses. That's just to generalise getting the hair tried out 2 years in advance, which is ridiculous. But like at that stage, I do advise the best thing to do is go get your dress, you know, get a little bit more of your theme going for your wedding, and then we look at what hairstyles and be realistic as well about hairstyles.
So
at
hair
that
is
stage.
one thing because,
Yeah.
you know, that's something that for the most part, you know, you have
It's an
planned.
important part.
It's an important part, but you
Yeah.
get it right. The makeup. What happens? Like, I'm guessing that you deal with women, and it's predominantly women, at their most emotionally fragile on the morning of their wedding. And the tears are never too far away. The stress is seeping out of the pores. How do you put makeup on people like that?
Well, the makeup will go on no problem, but as the morning goes on, I mean, it does get quite overwhelming for a bride and it does get quite emotional just before they leave for the church or leave for ceremony. It's just little top-ups after that. I mean, a good makeup artist, makeup will stay on. Obviously, you can't do anything about the tears, bar just fix it up again, but it's fixed.
But how do you try? Because, you know, you've got Mammy will be there and Daddy will be there and the bridesmaids will be milling round and the bride might be roaring, she might be crying. Do you find yourself no more than what we heard from Sandra is that you become kind of a counsellor in that session? You're trying to impart words of wisdom just so they'll stop moving.
Yeah. To be honest with you, I am fairly organised and I am fairly scheduled, and once my schedule is put together for the morning of a wedding, I know I can be chasing a bridesmaid. She might be gone to the car, but it's just pulling everyone back and just getting everything back in place again. And it does work, to be fair, it does.
Sean, let's go to you because I suppose once they've been through this process and they've the wedding planned and they have the makeup on and they look fabulous, they come to you and say, take a picture so I can remember this fantastic day for the rest of my life, or at least until I divorce him.
Absolutely, yeah.
So your accent, first of all, you're not from Cork originally.
No, I'm from New Zealand, but I married into the gang, so my wife is from Cork.
Your wife is from Cork.
Yeah.
And when you came over here, what's the difference between a New Zealand wedding and an Irish wedding?
There's a huge difference, really. I mean, I hadn't attended as many weddings as I have since living in Cork or Ireland, I'd say. I think Irish weddings are a lot more fun. The ceremonies are probably longer. Our weddings would probably be more resemblant of like a humanist ceremony. I don't know if you've been to humanist weddings, but
Kind of in and out, really.
yeah. Although the crack and the party afterwards probably isn't as mighty as what the Irish put on for us.
So you've gotten into it, to say the least, from
Yeah.
that description. When do you get involved in the process? Do they come to you again? How far out are you planning?
Yeah, usually a year in advance. I would recommend that would be the time, especially as now there's so many different styles of photography, different approaches to photography. That if you get in early, you get your choice of photographer as well. So the earlier you get in, the more likely you're going to be ending up with somebody whose photographs you love, and rather than ending up with
Because
last minute
it's not
decisions.
as straightforward as it used to be, whereby you point and you click and everybody stand together and let's do
No.
the group photograph at the end. People's expectations have changed, and that's probably a lot down to the fact that we are instant out of our life with
Yep.
Instagram. We see photographs on Facebook. We want something that stands out, and that must be the question you dread when somebody says to you, "I want to stand out with this photograph."
Yeah, it depends. Like everyone, I'm kind of a member of a co-op in Cork as well of brilliant photographers, but we all have our own kind of different styles and approaches to photography. For example, mine would be more of a documentary style. So I'm kind of storytelling on the day. Things are a lot more natural than, say, a set of kind of posed images or moments that are set up all day. I kind of tell the story in a natural way. So
Isn't that very hard though? Someone who takes photographs for a hobby like me, just to try and catch that one moment, it's not always as easy as that. And do you find yourself sometimes a bit frustrated, going, "Well, that was a bust. That last 5 minutes there because the bride didn't look up, or she was crying, or the makeup was running"?
yeah, well, the emotional side of a wedding is what we kind of look for if you're doing journalistic style. So it's always lovely when there's that beautiful moment between a bride and her dad, or the bride and groom. But you train yourself to look for moments and know where to stand and be in the right place. You're kind of foreseeing things before they happen as well. It's part of the organizational side of it, I suppose.
And the tech has changed as well. Do you still shoot off 35mm film, or do you shoot digital?
All digital now. Yeah.
All digital.
I believe there's few photographers out there shooting on film, but digital's where we're at now. So
Drones?
Yep, I see a lot of drones, mostly with like videographers, not so much cameramen, but yeah, I see a lot more drones at weddings now.
Has anything ever unfortunate happened when you were getting people to set up a photograph? Anyone ever fall into a pond or dip into a hole or, vanish from plain sight when you were taking the photo?
Not in my experiences, no, not so far. I'm kind of looking forward to that day because I don't have a decent story to tell you. I've had lots of alcohol sessions involved, which have been fun and challenging, but no, nothing dramatic at all.
Well, nothing dramatic there, but I suppose if we can come back to you, Sandra, what's the most outrageous thing, without going into details and explaining who, what, when or why, that you were asked to do to plan in a wedding? Was there ever something where you went, "Would you ever go away? No, we're not doing that"?
Yeah, there was a couple who were getting married in Kerry, so we'll blame it on the Kerry people. And they wanted to do a petting zoo for their it was an outdoor wedding. They were getting married in a field, and they wanted live animals in a petting zoo for their guests. So they wanted things like sheep and goats and rabbits and all those things set up in the corner of the field.
Good God, why?
They thought it was a great idea.
Lovely
You can
photographs.
hire people
Yeah,
now.
so you can actually,
can
yeah.
hire them
So,
now.
it was bizarre at, kind of 11 o'clock at night to see people out at the petting zoo in all states. But yeah, we did it. It was great. It was there. But yeah, that's probably one of the strangest
And do you obviously have a list of go-to people, whereby if they want white doves, you've got your white doves guy. If they want a sweet stand, you got your sweet stand guy. There is a huge industry after bubbling out of this from people's expectations at their weddings.
There really is. I suppose when I started, it was purely around the whole area of wedding planning. But because there's such a demand, we've branched into the whole area of styling and prop hire. So yeah, I have my list of vendors and suppliers, like people like Sean and Christine, that you pull in when people are looking for them. But people look for all kinds of strange items. So we've built up a really good relationship with mostly local suppliers because there's some great, fantastic creative people in Cork. So we pull them in when we need them. And then a lot of it we can actually provide ourselves from our own showroom.
So is it themed wedding? So,
Themed weddings,
might
yeah.
want a Wild West themed wedding
It
for
could
some
be anything.
weird reason.
Yeah, so we went through a lot of phases there of rustic and vintage, classic elegance. You could do a black and white, you could do a casino night type wedding. So there's all kinds of everything. And people, as going back to my earlier point, a lot of people have put a lot of thought into their wedding. It's not really show up and have turkey and ham anymore, and beef or salmon. It's You know, the food is really important, the wine is really important, the music, you know, the photographs. So, you know, it's not just a small little event anymore. People really go to town on their
I
wedding.
suppose, Christine, as the confidant of many brides, who when you're there on wedding morning, have you noticed brides change at all? Are they still the same people that they would have been when you would have started out in the profession?
Absolutely, and 100% changed. Because I suppose now when we're up against the likes of YouTube and Google and stuff, like Sandra said, the expectation is way higher now. I met a girl the other day and she actually said to me, I've my whole wedding planned, but I've no husband yet. So it's like, I know, and I'm still laughing.
There are men listening now who are going, I hope I
know,
don't meet her.
but that's going back to that time. But with YouTube now, you see, we're up against, even just for photography and for wedding planning and for hair and makeup, girls are now looking constantly at the internet. I mean, when I ask a bride to send me a picture of an idea for her wedding day hair, I'm now getting literally the whole of Pinterest sent to me. Do you know what I'm saying? There's so much more expectations there, which is and fabulous. So much
wasted going through photographs.
It's the day of the dream, and it's fabulous. But you know.
But then, as I always point out to everybody who gets married, isn't married life very similar to non-married life? Because at the end of the day, you just keep going. It's you enjoy your day, but you move on. Can I ask you, do you guys get Saturdays off ever? Do you have to work every single weekend?
Yes.
You do?
Work every weekend.
You work every weekend?
Every weekend.
Yeah,
and
every
Sunday
weekend
now
and
with the wedding
Sunday.
fairs as well. We all do the wedding fair.
So you're going 7 days?
And you
8
can get married
8
now
with
on
night time.
Sunday. Yeah, you can get married now on Sunday
Yes.
as well, because if you're having a humanism ceremony, or if you're having anything that's not non-church
It's
related,
a great day to get married.
you can actually get married on Sunday. So the Sunday of bank holidays has now become hugely popular, which we are totally hating. But it now means that, you're working 7 days, really.
You'll never turn down the money, though. That's
Never.
the one thing. That's the one thing about
Never.
business. And this is the last question I have to ask, and I'll go to each of you individually. Sean, do you enjoy weddings?
Absolutely, yeah. Because every wedding is completely different. Everybody has their own story. Obviously, there's similarities between weddings, but you meet different characters every time you work, which is part of the joys of what I do as well.
Okay, and Christine, do you enjoy weddings?
For anybody that knows me, they will tell you I love my brides. And every bride is different, and every bride is the only bride.
Sandra, I'm holding out hope that the common sense in the group is going to be amongst you. Surely, after putting through so many weddings, you must dislike them in some shape or form.
Yeah, what I find, it's like a busman's holiday, because I walk around a venue and it's very hard to turn off, and you're spotting things, or I'm fixing tablecloths, or I'm kind of straightening candles. But no, look, weddings are a great day out, so I think you have to kind of park the professional side and just enjoy it.
Absolutely, enjoy it as best you can. And sure, look, you have to wish the happy couple the best.
Correct.
Even if you don't like them. By the way, there is a competition we're running on Red Business this week. The Gary Vaux Hotel have given us an overnight stay for 2 people. They've thrown in dinner as well. Gary Vaux Hotel, which presumably some of you guys will have operated in at
Yes.
some stage. A fabulous
Last
spot down
weekend.
there. Very good. So if you want to get involved in that, go to the Red FM Twitter page and the Red FM Facebook page, and the details on how you can enter the competition are on there. But for now, Christine O'Sullivan from Creations, Sean Clark, photographer, and Sandra Looney, wedding planner, thank you all very much for joining us.
Thank you.
My thanks to all the companies who took part in this episode, and if you're one of their customers, the best of luck to you. In particular, the guy who was proposing with the ring from Michelle's Jewelers. Don't forget to subscribe on iTunes. We'll catch you on the next one.
The Red Business Podcast with CompuB, Apple technology and solutions for your business. CompuB.com/business.